what they're talking about when they said they love Jesus. The Mormon believes, now listen to this, I'm not telling you what I think they believe. I'm telling you what their Mormon Bible teaches, that Jesus was the brother of Satan, that he was created just like Satan was. So when they say they love Jesus, they don't love the same Jesus that you and I love. It's a different Jesus. When the Muslim says they love God, the God they serve is not the same God that you and I are serving.
Right.
In fact, the Muslim will tell you they are humiliated and angry if we tell them that they serve the same God we serve, because they do not believe in the same God we believe in. Now, I'm saying these things this morning. Do you realize in America, the majority of America today has religion, but not Christianity?
Right.
I want us to understand it. Now, I want you to look over the church here this morning, and I want you to notice there's more empty seats than there are full seats. You know why? Do you know why? Because the majority of the people out here today is saying, as long as you believe any God. I preached this message just a few weeks ago at Pleasantville, Mount Pleasant, Texas, on a Wednesday night. Gave the invitation. That night I did not even mention how to get saved. I just simply, through teaching and preaching, on how I know there's a God. I gave the invitation. 3 young people came to the altar and got saved that night. The pastor and his wife took me out for supper that night. And the pastor's wife said to me, she said, Brother Halford, she said, I don't understand this. Says, you did not even talk about salvation tonight. And those kids have been coming to church and they've been listening to preaching for months. In fact, over a year. You didn't even, and they came and got saved. She said, why? I said, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. All I know is that God must have somehow used something in it to touch their heart. Dr. Bill Akins, you know Brother Bill Akins. Dr. Akins calls me every once to just check on me to see how I'm doing on the trip. He knows that trips are hard on me. He called me up right after I'd been down there. In fact, I was on my way back from Texas. He called me up and I was excited. I said, Brother Bill, I preached this message on how do I know there's a God. And I said, 3 young people got saved. And I said, I didn't even tell them about getting saved. He said, they didn't need that. He said, they already heard that. See, they've been hearing that. They just were not convinced that God was God. He said, when you preached that you knew that there was a God, they became convinced through your belief that there was a God, and they wanted to accept Him. Amen. This morning, a lot of people today are saying they do not even believe in a God. The fool has said in his heart, Psalms 14:1 said, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Now, there's not as many that believe that as they say they do. But there is some today that still believes that there is no God. I mean, down deep inside, they actually do not believe there's a God. Right. Now, I want to say, I want to be very careful how I say this, because I don't want you to go away being critical. Just because a person says that they do not believe in God, and even though they may be sincere, don't criticize them. For goodness sakes, don't make fun of anybody for what they believe, even if they are wrong. Be kind. Let me illustrate. Years ago, took a church, was pastoring. One Sunday morning, a couple walked in, a young couple. I had met her. She worked for the newspaper. She had done an interview with me for the newspaper. And so I knew who she was. I knew that I had talked to her about the Lord. She was a Baptist. She was saved. I knew nothing about her husband. When they walked in, he was a very tall, handsome, dignified-looking fella, and very educated man. I went to see them that week, and I asked him, Larry, I said, Larry, have you ever been saved? He looked at me, and he's got a great sense of humor, but he's also very blunt. He looked at me and he said, Reverend, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if there is a God or not. Here his wife was a Christian. His mother found out was a Christian. But Larry became very bitter in life, and he began to believe that there was no God. I looked at him and I said, Larry, thank you for being honest with me. I said, all I ask you, just keep coming to church. And I said, I'll be praying for you. I said, is that okay? And he said, that's fine. He didn't like what I said, but he was fine. I was very kind to him. I had a word of prayer with him and left. For 1 year, I never went back to the house for 1 year. A lot of people, especially independent Baptists, are real bad about that. You just got to keep pound it into them. A lot of times you pound them right out.
Yes, sir.
Let God do the convicting.
Yes,
give God time to do what He wants to do. And I remember a year later, I drove by their driveway, and God said, get in there right now. I drove the driveway, knocked on the door. They graciously invited me, and I said, Larry, I didn't come to visit. I just come to ask you, have you thought about what I asked you, the question that I asked you a year ago? He said, yes, sir, and I'm ready. We got on our knees, and Larry gloriously got saved. I remember a short time after that, I was having some health problems. I've had 6 strokes, a heart attack, cancer, open heart surgery, and I'm still here. Somebody said, but you're not all here. If you want to believe that, that's fine. I'm having a good time. And they said, the less you're here, the better time you have. So, and I was having a health problem. My doctor had died, and I had to change doctors, and I did not know the guy. And I was sitting on the patient's table, and he was telling me what was wrong with me and what kind of medicine I had to have, and I knew what it was going to cost me, about $150 to $200 a month just for this one medicine. And I was thinking to myself, oh God, why? I haven't got the money. Lord, you know I don't have that kind of income to spare at this time. I just don't have it. God, what am I going to do? But as Dr. Cassidy started out the door, I said, Doc, I've got to ask you a question. He kind of bristled, being I was a preacher. He knew I was going to ask him about the Lord. He said, yeah. I said, Doc, have you ever been saved? I said, have you ever asked Jesus to come into your heart? He looked at me and said, Reverend, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, I don't know if there is a God or not. Boy, he was very nasty about it. Going to find out he came from a very atheistic family, very rough family. I looked at him and I said, Doc, thank you for your honesty. I said, if it's okay with you, I said, I'm going to be praying for you. And I said, you just think about what I've said. Okay, and out the door we went. 13 months went by. I never mentioned it. I was there at least once a month, sometimes 2 and 3 times a month for treatments. Never mentioned God. Except maybe that I've been preaching, something like that. At the end of 13 months, I was sitting on the exam table thinking about how God had supplied my needs. 12 months out of the 13 months, Dr. Cassidy made sure that all my bills was paid. Never cost me a dime for 12 months out of 13. As he got ready to walk out the door, I said, Doc, I got a question. I said, Doc, I need to say something. He bristled. And he knew I didn't want to talk to him about the Lord. I said, Doc, I said, when I came here 13 months ago, I had no money. I did not know how I was going to pay my doctor bills and my medical bills. And I said, Doc, 12 months out of the 13, you have taken care of them. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for being so kind. I'll never forget it. He turned to me face to face. He said, Reverend, don't thank me. He said, just thank him. Don't thank me, just thank Him. Doc became convinced because in my heart I was convinced that God was God. Don't expect other people to become convinced in a God of heaven if you're not convinced. Don't expect your children to be convinced that Christianity is the real thing if you don't believe in it. I heard a message yesterday, or a statement yesterday that stuck in my mind. Do you believe what you believe? Do you believe what you believe? In other words, do you believe what you say you believe? And most of us act like we don't believe what we say we believe. How do I know there's a God? Which God do you believe in? Do you realize today that the majority of the people that are looking for God have no idea who God is or what He looks like or which God to accept?